Wokeness in gaming is sadly one of the greatest, easiest grifts to get rich off of. It's absolutely insane. First of all, the people working for you are lunatics who probably are doing it because they believe that their goal is righteous, aka you can pay them less. Two, random governments across all of the world are going to be giving you money because reasons. Three, you don't have to actually do shit. Four, you don't even have to have employees, it seems like. The woke gaming grift is insanely profitable.
When we first exposed Wings Interactive, I thought we'd uncovered one small scheme. Some shady funding, a fake mission, and a few bad actors hiding behind good PR. But the more I looked, the more names I recognized. Studios you've never heard of, getting funded again and again. Games with no players, companies with no teams. Yet somehow, they kept getting grants. So
I can actually explain this one. This is the problem of grants sometimes, okay? There exists a grant for X-Thing, and X-Thing just literally requires your company to fit, I don't know what's the English name for it, but in Europe, in my country, it's Lursoft, that you can check all of these things, and it just pretty much accumulates how much taxes your company pays, how many people work for it. It's not even the real number; it's just an estimate from two, which is hilarious, and all of those things. And a lot of these grants are given by do you fulfill these criterias. So the moment that he says, "Oh, companies with no employees," congratulations, that is a company that deserves a grant. It's fucking stupid.
I did what I always do. I followed the trail. Every name, every project, every payout. And at the end of that trail wasn't just a person, it was the French government.
Goddamn French.
Hello, 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 and what is going on, everybody? It is Master of the TDS, and I'm joined by my lovely wife,
Writing Raven.
Welcome back to Gothic Therapy. We've already exposed Wings Interactive as a front for Landfall Games, but today we're going deeper, because this wasn't just one shady company, this was a part of something much bigger, something baked into the system itself.
And since YouTube probably isn't thrilled about us unraveling it, join the night shift by hitting that like and subscribe button. Let's keep shining a light where they'd rather we didn't.
Seriously, you're going to want to see where this one leads. All right, quick recap for anybody new here. Wings Interactive claimed to be an indie fund helping diverse developers get their games off the ground. But as we uncovered, they were secretly a front for Landfall Games, sharing offices, staff, and...
Yeah. I don't remember if I did react on this, but I did watch the previous video, that much I remember. It's quite an insane thing, but it's a grift, so, you know, it's to be expected.
finances, all while pretending to be completely independent.
And let's not forget...
Which was the situation where I was... This happened like a year ago, but it was just a basic situation of me laughing about some of these companies, and then I went to a website that they have, and it's like, oh, wait, this is a completely different company? Wait a minute. Are these three people on literally 5 different boards at the same time? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. It's hilarious. The amount of money you can grift on this shit is insane.
Sweet Bowser Inc., Sweet Baby Inc., whose CEO Kim Belair just happened to sit on Wings' board. Guess Bowser's not the only
Yeah, was this also a part that we found? It was hilarious. But again, yeah, you have these people sitting. She's probably sitting on 7 other boards of companies no one has ever heard.
questionable character she's into.
Wings wasn't just shady, it was a part of an entire network manipulating indie studios behind the scenes. And when we exposed that, they panicked, scrubbing their social media, wiping their website, erasing staff, board members, and even the games themselves.
Like they were never there at all.
And I'll be honest, I was convinced they were getting government funding. Everything about their setup screamed it. But they had done such a good job covering their tracks, I couldn't confirm it. No records, no links, no smoking gun.
Yeah, it felt like a dead end. Until it didn't.
Because Wings may have disappeared, but the money trail didn't.
It led us to the people who help decide where the money goes.
Before we start naming names, let's talk about how the money actually flows.
Government grants, right? I mean, every country has some version of that for the arts.
Right. But in France, that money comes from the CNC, the National Center for Cinema and the Moving Image. They fund film, animation, and yes, video games. And we're not talking pocket change.
How much are we talking?
Millions. Every year. Some games get 30,000 euros, others 200,000 euros or more.
Okay, but who actually decides which projects get the money?
That's where
the cinema thing itself, they have people who decide and over. You need to apply to this crap. That's the trick. And if you fit this, again, as I said, you need to apply, and if your company fits a certain criteria, because this is all designed to be, to just, further the arts effectively. It's just designed to do that. It's designed to create new small businesses, new game developers, new animators, all of these things. And that does not happen nowadays without grants and from government in a lot of cases. And the smaller, the shittier you are as a company, the more likely you're getting this grant. These grants are not woke, but these woke shill shit companies are just abusing these things. It's like Dustborn. Dustborn got 200k from the Europe. No, it was 100k. Dustborn got like 100k from the European Union.
FNJV comes in, the Syndicate National du Video. Basically, the National Video Game Board. They represent the industry and work directly with the CNC on funding decisions.
So the CNC lets them decide it. A lot of these places decide it on their own, but, they can do this. Not a problem.
Outreach and policy.
Like a union and a lobby group had a baby?
Exactly. And their board is made up of studio heads, people with studios that, in many cases, have received a lot of government grants.
So, game devs are helping decide which other game devs get money, and sometimes they're deciding on themselves.
And that's the question. Where does industry lead?
They probably can't decide on themselves, though. Probably, I'm assuming. Would be reasonable, right? But you never know with the French.
Leadership end and self-dealing begin.
And that brings us to our first spotlight.
Someone you might already recognize. Let's start with the most obvious thread. Audrey LaPrince. You might know her as the co-founder of the Game Bakers, but she also co-founded Women in Games France, and of course, she was one of the main people behind Wings Interactive.
Nice.
And while she was pitching Wings as this beacon of diversity, she was also quietly sitting on the FNJV board, starting in 2020.
Okay, so before she joined the board, had she already gotten money from the CNC?
5 separate grants, some under the Game Bakers, and one under Sunshine Lab, which is basically just an earlier label for the same team. And we're talking...
Okay. My question here is simple. Fine. Okay. This is, by the way, normal. But there is one thing that we need to know. See, these boards are not designed specifically to kind of waste money, but corruption can happen on a board very easily. That's the problem with the boards, right? The thing here is, the thing to look out for this shit is very, very, very simple. Did they receive money after they came on the board? Because these boards, in a lot of cases, want to find members, as in someone who actually was successful in doing the thing that their grant is supposed to do. Because that person who did the thing successfully is going to be able to, should, at least in theory, be able to pick out the winners who actually deserve the grant more. Because when it comes to these grants, you actually want to see a success rate for them. That's a very important key metric.
Hundreds of thousands in government money.
And after she joined?
2 more for her game
Oh,
Cairn,
shit!
plus 3 more grants for Women in Games France, the organization she co-founded and still supports just for appearing at Paris Games Week.
10
Oh,
grants
that's bad.
total, and half of those were awarded while she was on the board that helps decide where the money goes.
Exactly.
Yep, that should not happen, though. Oof. That sounds like corruption.
She may have recused herself from those decisions. She might have followed the letter of the law. But when the same names keep coming up again and again, it stops feeling like a coincidence.
And this is just the first person?
Oh, yeah.
This sounds like what you expect from every government, though, to be honest, in the world, not just fucking France, by the way. I'm not gonna lie, my government has shit like this. And, if this gets enough, how much does this have? Like 5k on, oh, that's sad. Only 5k, because this is one of those situations where this goes to the press and it's like, the next day, resignen, adios, and that's it. That's kind of how it goes, because this is unprovable corruption. Okay, even if all the grants, 100% of them, go exactly to their studios that they support, it can never be proven in a court of law as actual corruption, unless you, I don't know, you use a truth serum on that person. But otherwise, it's impossible. You can't prove that is corruption. Okay? Now, granted, a thing that people don't understand about boards in a lot of cases, especially about when it comes to the government, again, worked at the government, financial analyst, 10 out of 10, made connections, may learned a lot of things. One of the things that's a common thing on boards, well, it can be common. It depends. Maybe this is not one of those situations. But a very common thing on boards that happens in countries is the board members fight with each other. They are all there for private interest and shit like that. They're not actually friendly with one another. They're in constant combat with one another. Okay? So, maybe this is above board. I don't know. Maybe the whole board is fucking corrupt and they're just a bunch of woke bankers doing stupid shit. Who knows? But a lot of board members are not united in the slightest on the decisions. They are all fighting for being more important than the board. They are all fighting to be on other boards because they're doing the best job on their board and shit like that.
Buckle up. Next up is Marine Freeland, CEO of Piece of Cake Studios and a current member of the FNJV board. Before she ever joined the board, she got a grant in 2016 for a game called Hack Tag. But once she joined the board in 2020, things didn't exactly slow down.
How many more are we talking?
3 more. Crossroads in 2021, and then 2 rounds of funding for Fantastic Haven in 2023 and 2024. That's a pre-production grant followed by a full production.
Now, this looks bad because if the first person we were talking about, you could argue that they actually, were a successful recipient of the grant and that's why they're on the board, then this one is like, okay, you did one fucking thing and now you're on the board and suddenly you just expedite your acquisition rate for these grants by fucking tenfold? Not a good look.
Production grant.
And again, maybe she followed all the rules, but that's 4 grants total, 3 during her tenure.
Now let's talk about Hervé Salm, the COO of Old Skull Games. Unlike others, his LinkedIn doesn't list when he joined the board, so the exact overlap is tricky to pin down.
But his company definitely didn't shy away from the CNC funding buffet.
Not even close. Old School Games received 6 CNC grants over the years. 5 we know were before or possibly during his tenure, and 1 that was undeniably awarded in December 2024 while he was confirmed to still be on the board.
And that last one was for something called cryptical path, right? Sounds like a metaphor for all of this. And again, maybe it's legit. Maybe there's no direct conflict.
The problem is we're only halfway through the board.
Now, be fair, to know, like, I can gauge you if there's a conflict of interest here instantaneously, just by it depends. This purely depends, by the way, how many grants and how many different types of grants are given every year and for how much. For example, if the budget is like 10 million a year, and then that means that you have to make, how many fucking is that? 100 different grants, and there's like only 105 studios that go for these grants. Then this is above board, okay? But if not, well then fucking not, I guess. Now, the big one was the one that received the billion trillion. This one, this one at the start, because this is like, okay, so you're an indie studio that received one grant in 2017, and then you received like 100, like 3 different grants for different things. Okay, let's look at this. Okay. Paris Games Week, blah blah blah, Women in Games franchise, with the results of the commission. Women in Gaming. Can't see what it actually is, but that is the most sus fucking thing ever.
Fantastic Haven in 2023, and a current member,
Oop.
the CO.
Hey.
Not even close. Old School Games received 6 CNC grants over the years. 5 we know were before or possibly during his tenure, and 1 that was undeniably awarded in December 2024.
Oh no, wait. This is also bad. Look at this. Old Skull Games? No, wait. What is this? Is this the company or this? That's not the game name.
In December.
Cryptic Path. Oh no, that's the game name. So, look at this. Old School Games 2022. This.
Awarded in December.
And then at the end, not even 2 years effectively later, another grant for the same fucking game? And this time it's 3 on. Like, there is a chance. If someone investigates this is probably going to turn out that some of this is... some of these look way more blatantly scams than others. Like, this looks like corruption. This looks like just blatant fucking corruption.
December 2024, while he was confirmed to still be on the board.
And that last one was for something called cryptical path, right? Sounds like a metaphor for all of this. And again, maybe it's legit. Maybe there's no direct conflict.
The problem is we're only halfway through the board. Next is David Rabineau, CEO of Homo Ludens. He joined
fucking him, boys.
In October 2020, initially as a VP of International and European Affairs.
Let me guess. He got a grant after joining the board?
Not 1, 2. 1 in 2021 for a project called Sinatra, and another in 2024 for a game called Kate. But here's the key detail. He didn't receive any CNC grants at all until after he was already on the board.
That's not subtle.
This isn't someone with a history of getting grants who later joined the board. This is someone who started benefiting from the system after gaining influence inside it.
Which
Okay, now this is the most blatantly corrupt one.
raises the question, how many others only started getting funded once they were in the room?
And how many didn't get funding because they weren't?
Okay, so, this is what it starts to look like. Everyone is voting for everyone else's shit to pass and get grants. Otherwise, those people can vote against their interests. So everyone's just voting on everything, yes, where anyone else is involved. Otherwise, they risk closing out themselves. This is like one of the worst types of corruption.
Now let's take a look at Benjamin Charbit, CEO of Darewise Entertainment, and a longtime member of
listen, I'm not gonna lie. How many of these are small hats?
the FNJV board. He's been involved since at least 2014.
So he was part of the system for a long time. What about grants?
He received one in 2017 for a project called Corvus.
Oh no! If this guy, please tell me he didn't receive like 15 trillion more grants after 2020.
And yes, he was already serving on the board at the time.
And even if he wasn't directly involved in that decision, it still doesn't look great, especially given the pattern we're starting to see.
Exactly, because now we've got multiple board members, all with ties to studios, receiving government grants.
Oh, it's a little bit different because a lot of these people started at 2020, which would mean maybe that this organization became extremely corrupt when then those people joined. Who knows?
During their time in power.
Now let's talk about Levan Sardyeveladze.
The CEO of Celsius Online.
Wait, wasn't he like president of the FNJV for a while?
Yep, vice president from 2014 to 2016, and then president from 2016 to 2023. Now he's the first VP of Public Affairs. Basically, he's been on that board longer than some studios have existed.
So I'm guessing he's gotten a few grants in that time?
Actually, two. One before he joined, and one after. In 2011, Celsius Online got 146,000 euros for a project called Hegel, Reason and History. And in 2017, right in the middle of his presidency, they got another for 100,000 euros for a game called Return to the Kingdom.
So, grant during his presidency confirmed. Next up is Anne de Vassaux.
Currently the president of the FNJB and a board member since 2014.
Jeez.
She was a vice chair from 2014 to 2023 and took over as president in 2023. And before that, her studio Spiders.
Okay, I kind of get it. It's just insane. Okay, let's look at the end though.
One last thing before we go. We still can't confirm that Wings Interactive ever received CNC money directly.
But one of their funded games, we can.
December 2020, Don't Forget Me, developed by the Moon Pirates. One of the studios listed on Wings' now erased games page on their website received 90,000 euros in CNC funding.
So even if Wings didn't cash the checks themselves, their network still did.
And that's the point. It's not just about the money, it's about the machine.
And if this is happening in the French government, who's to say it isn't happening?
It's literally happening every. By the way, if you're wondering why shit like Dustborn exists, here's your answer. They just fit the grant recipient standards, and that's it. It's insane, but yeah, this is like a fucking this is clear corruption at some points, right? There is no way this is not a major conflict of interest. Like, they're not gonna go to jail, but again, as previously I said, I have seen this in the government enough. Okay, it's gonna be someone in the news picks this up. Doesn't, by the way, even give any thanks to fucking Gothic therapy as per usual. And the next day after that article comes out, it's like, adios. I have worked long and hard here. Time to move on. Okay, happened in my country when it was the post office. Yes, it was the post office part of the government. Post offices are owned by government, by the way. If you're wondering, a lot of strange things are owned by the government, by the way. So, in the post office in my government, the whole board and CEO of the post, part of the government, fucking resigned in one day when it turned out that some person who has not ever been to work in a high position had been paid money for 2 years. They all resigned the same day the article fucking released. Hey, here's a person who has never worked in the post office a single day in their life, but they're getting paid for 2 years straight now. Which is hilarious. It doesn't matter, by the way, if it's an oversight. It doesn't matter if that's corruption. It's fucking you're fucking gone after something like this. That was one of the most entertaining stories ever. But again, it's like no one got punished. It's just thing releases. It's like bye bye. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye bye.